My name is Beth Fairchild. I'm 40 years old. I'm a tattoo artist, a yoga instructor, and a woman living with metastatic breast cancer. I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer in May of 2014. I had de novo metastatic disease, which means I never experienced an early stage breast cancer. So I was having bloating in my belly, overall fatigue. And after a couple of months of visiting different doctors, I finally was able to convince them to give me some testing that ultimately found that my ovaries had both grown to the size of grapefruits. They were fearful that they would rupture, and so they sent me in for a hysterectomy. And when I woke up from my hysterectomy, I was told that I had metastatic breast cancer to the ovaries. We found that it was in my entire pelvic cavity and every single bone in my body, and that I had 2 lesions on my liver. In the beginning, it was very hard, as I'm sure anyone could imagine, having been told that you have a terminal diagnosis. I lived my life pretty wide open in the first couple of years because I wanted to live every second that I could. I found a lot more value in the mundane task of my life, like just having breakfast or walking the dog or mowing the lawn, and finding gratitude that I am still able to do those things. Well, I was married for 10 years, and cancer definitely shifted my perspective on what I wanted out of life, and not through the fault of anyone, not myself or my husband, but we definitely grew apart and decided to separate. So I moved into my childhood home and remodeled it and made it everything that I wanted, and lived there alone for about 1.5 years before I met the man that I am currently seeing. I think that most people think about their job and then the next car or the next house or the next vacation, and they think of working towards a goal, and most oftentimes it's motivated financially because you need money to do these things. And all of a sudden, time was my commodity and not my career. I didn't want to waste another night sitting on the couch. I wanted to be doing things and experiencing life, even if it's cooking in the kitchen or working in my garden. And so now my perception has shifted in that experiences are what I value and not stuff or accolades or where I'm at in my career. I don't need to see my name in lights. I just need to enjoy this life that I have. Well, time is all I have. I mean, time is the most important thing to me. And David and I have a long distance relationship. He lives in Newark, New Jersey, and I live in Greensboro, North Carolina. And we somehow make that work. We bounce back and forth between the 2 cities and try to make our lives work that way. But time spent with David or with anyone really in my life is so important to me because that's all we have together is time and memories. And when I'm gone, the things that we shared and the things that we did will be how he remembers me. I think what I value most about David is his compassion and the way he makes everyone feel. Everyone that he interacts with or comes in contact with, he makes them feel important and validated. And that's not easy, to stop and take time with literally every single person that he meets. For me, meeting someone and falling in love with someone, which I never thought would happen. You know, who would want a woman who didn't have breasts, who had significant physical changes after surgery, after cancer treatment, who has this very limited time, a terminal diagnosis. Who is going to want to be with someone like that? And then I met David. And I think what's the most valuable thing to me in our relationship is that he makes me forget that I'm sick.
Dating someone with MBC really has not been a part of the relationship. MBC is something that Beth has, not something that Beth is. And so it is not a part of our relationship. And many times we have to schedule a time to talk about MBC because we forget to bring it up every now and then. My advice to a person dating someone else with MBC is knowledge is power. Find out about the person, about their diagnosis, about their condition. Know what you need to know. Find out how it involves or doesn't involve your relationship. Find out what effect it's going to have on you right now. Worry about what the effect will be in the future when the future comes. Plan and prepare for it as best you can, but don't focus so much on what is coming that you lose sight of what is right in front of you. The one thing I value the most about my partner is our connection. We have really no issues, and I'm just so grateful that I have a partner who fits me.
So we met at a fashion show. Cancerland hosts a fashion show with Anna Ono every year. And we feature metastatic breast cancer patients, early stage breast cancer patients. We dress them in Dana Donna Freeze fashions, and they walk the runway to raise money for metastatic breast cancer research. And David was hired by Dana and her team to be the medic on set for the event. How long have you been together?
Ever since that day. We're going on 2 years now.
I think what makes us work is that we're so opposite. We just kind of fit together like a puzzle. I'm kind of free-spirited and flighty and unorganized, and David's very regimented and all about the schedule. Our first date was 4 days long, and he had all of our activities planned on a spreadsheet.
There's one of the cheesiest lines ever of the "you complete me" thing. And so we actually do complete each other in totally different ways that we didn't even know that we needed completing in.
Well, I was living alone and traveling and doing my advocacy work, and I was content to just live that life. As I said, I never thought that I would date anyone, especially seriously, because, talk about coming with baggage. I mean, I really was broken. And so my life has definitely changed in that I have someone to travel with. I have someone to make plans with. I have things to look forward to. I remember last year, David planning a trip for us to dive in Belize. And I was very excited, but then my second thought was, I may not be alive next year. And then when that trip came around and I was healthy enough to go, I was like, wow. And so now I feel like I have something to look forward to, and there's always something. There's always a trip, there's always an event, there's always Netflix. It's like there's always something to look forward to.
And see, we are so different because I had this life of travel and enjoyed traveling alone and knew that I did not want to travel with someone else. And I told her this when we planned our very first vacation, that it may not work because I didn't like to travel with someone. And I came to discover that I really don't like to travel with someone. I like to travel with her.
So the struggles that I face alone are, some of the physical things that I don't want to tell David, aches and pains. I think more so is the emotional part of it. I think about it all the time. And I don't share a lot of that stuff with David because I don't want our relationship to be about cancer. I just want to enjoy him and be with him without cancer being the dark cloud over us, even though it is. So I don't want to say that we're in denial, because we do have conversations about it. But I think there's a lot of things that I keep from him.
I think the things that worry me are the statements of, I'm a very old lady on the inside, and so I'm actually worried about hurting her. Sometimes I pick her up and toss her around, and I don't want to break her.
I wish people knew that it's not the patient's fault, that they didn't wait too long, that they didn't go without a mammogram, that sometimes cancer just happens. I wish people knew that there was not a cure to breast cancer. I wish people knew that breast cancer isn't the easy cancer. I wish people knew that a mastectomy and reconstruction is not the same thing as an augmentation. I wish people knew about the anxiety that people are living with. I wish people knew what it felt like to face your own mortality day after day after day. I wish people knew what it's like to watch your friends die. I wish people knew that there's not nearly enough research being done for metastatic breast cancer. And most of all, I wish that people would just do something. They volunteer, they donate, they tell a friend, they just engage and do something. I think when people know and they do nothing, it means they really don't care. And I'm just tired of people not caring that we are dying from this disease. There's a handful of young women that are living with metastatic breast cancer in an online support group, and we share in that group pretty openly about things that may be difficult for me to discuss with my kids or my friends or my partner. So that's usually where I look for support. So what a lot of people don't talk about is physical intimacy, because sex is so taboo in our culture, and it's the thing that we're not supposed to talk about openly. And so there's people who are affected by the cancer treatments. A lot of breast cancer is driven by hormones, and you have to take medications that suppress your body from making those hormones, so largely estrogen. And without estrogen, you experience menopause. So at 34, after my hysterectomy and starting an endocrine therapy, I was thrown into menopause. So I'm, 34, now I'm 40-year-old postmenopausal woman. So you have things like vaginal atrophy and dryness. Sex is very painful. And there are literally hundreds of thousands of women who are living with these symptoms. They're unable to have sex with their partners. They're unable to be intimate. And because we don't talk about it and we don't discuss it with our doctors, there's no studies being done. So, when I was married to my husband, we went years without being intimate with one another. And I honestly thought that I would never be sexually active again. And having met and being with a partner who was patient and understanding about what my limitations were really helped. And I'm able now to have a somewhat normal, I think, sex life. But it was hard work to get there, and it took a lot of open communication. And I wish for other people who are experiencing that to have a partner that's, understanding and giving and is willing to have those difficult conversations. My self-image definitely changed from my diagnosis. I was tall and thin and had long blonde hair and D-cup breasts, and that was who I was. I was this blonde bombshell. And cancer took all that from me. It took my hair, it took my breasts. I lost a ton of weight. And what I realized is that I was still me, and I was still as important and as pretty and as sexy and as smart as I was without all of that stuff. That it wasn't about my hair or my boobs or my figure. It was about what was in here and what was in here. And that was really a gift to me, because at 34, I had this awakening. And I want my girls, to be able to understand that at 20 and not, be worried about how they look or what their hair looks like or their makeup being just right or their outfits. It's really all about who you are on the inside. And it wasn't until I was stripped of all of that that I realized that I was just enough. We discuss tough topics. Not a lot, but sometimes I'll have a bad day and I'll just talk to David about it. And sometimes he'll have questions for me and he'll say, hey, can we have a conversation about your cancer? And we'll talk about it.
We don't really have anything that's taboo or that we can't talk about. There's no barriers or boundaries. Everything's up for discussion.
And it's been like that since day one. So I think dating with cancer is different than people who are married or in a relationship and then have the diagnosis, versus someone getting to know me with the diagnosis, is that we've just been very upfront about everything from the beginning. So there's no questions or nothing off topic. Totally comfortable talking to you about anything. And I think anyone else who is dating with, whether it's metastatic breast cancer or just breast cancer or any catastrophic illness, I think the best thing is to just be very upfront about it in the very beginning. I do look towards the future. It's weird because for the last few years I haven't, but now I'm slowly starting to, think about our trips next summer or what our life is going to be like a year from now or 2 years from now. So yeah, I definitely look towards the future. My deepest fear is that I'm gonna give this cancer to my daughter, that it's a genetic thing, and that when Leanne has to go through all of this awfulness, I will have died and I won't be there for her. That is my deepest fear. That was my first thought when I was diagnosed, is what does this mean? My dad's mom was dead at 33 from metastatic breast cancer. So even though I haven't tested positive for any of the genes, it's just one they don't know about. And so my first thought was, what does this mean for my daughter, my biological daughter? So my deepest fear is that Leanne will experience this and I won't be able to hold her. So what gives me hope is that the work that I'm doing in advocacy is going to make a difference. I've dedicated the last 5 years of my life to elevate patient voices, to literally beg for more money for research. And although I know I won't see it in my lifetime, I need to know that my time and my work has made a difference for my children, for people who will be diagnosed after me. Because if it doesn't, then it means that all of this has been for nothing and that I've wasted the last 5 most precious years of my life. So I'm hopeful that the work that I do and that I continue to do will bring true change.